Okay, this is factoring lesson 2. We're going to be factoring trinomials of the type x squared plus bx plus c. So let's look at this one. We're going to factor x squared plus 5x minus 14. And again, we're trying to factor, these are factoring trinomials into two binomials. So the process here is, again, we're trying to find two binomials. When they multiply together, give me this expression here. And so we can start off, certainly x squared can only be factored in one way, right? So I'll start off with x and x. And then the question is how do I get this middle term and this negative 14? Well, if we kind of look here, whatever I multiply these last two constant terms, that's what's going to give you the negative 14. So let's do a little negative 14, do a little factor tree here. So how can I factor negative 14? Well, I could say 2 and negative 7. So if I put a 2 and negative 7, there's not going to work. So 2 and a negative 7. This is understood to be positive 2. So when I FOIL this back out, x times x is x squared. That looks good. Minus 7x plus 2x minus 14. Ooh, looks pretty good except for this middle term. So I just can't pick any old factors for 14, for negative 14. I've got to make sure this middle term actually adds up. So let's think about this strategy here. So I need to make sure that my factors multiply to give me this number, but that they add to give me this middle term here of 5x, or just 5. So let's think about this. So x and x, that's going to work out. But how about the negative 14? How can I get a positive 5x? What if that 7 is positive and the 2 is negative? Is that going to work out? I think so, right? Because 7 minus 2 is 5. So we can have a plus 7 and minus 2. And again, let's check this out. X squared, and then x times negative 2 is a negative 2x. 7 times x is a positive 7x. And then 7 times negative 2 is a negative 14. Add those together, we get our 5x. So this is the factoring. X plus 7, x minus 2. Okay, let's try this one. Again, our strategy is we're going to find factors of 10 that combine, add or subtract, in this case it's going to be add, to give me that middle term. Good. 5 and 2. So 5 times 2 is 10, and 5 plus 2 is 7. So let's go ahead and factor this. We get x plus 2 and x plus 5. And these can be written the other way. We could say x plus 5 times x plus 2 is also okay. So x plus 5 times x plus 2 is just as good. Both okay. Let's factor x squared minus 3x minus 10. And go ahead and pause the video here. See if you can do this one on your own. Alright, welcome back. So, we have factors of negative 10. Let's see, 5 and 2. Can I combine 5 and 2 in such a way that I get a negative 3? Yeah, if the 5 is negative and the 2 is positive. So I'm going to get x minus 5 and x plus 2. Or we could have it x plus 2 times x minus 5. Okay, how about this one? X squared plus 3x minus 10. I want to factor that. Pause the video, see if you can do this one. Alright, welcome back. So again, factors of negative 10. So 5 and 2, I can get there right if the 2 is negative and the 5 is positive. So I get x plus 5, x minus 2. Okay, try this one. 2x squared plus 12x plus 10. Now before you get too far, what's different about this one? Right, we've got a 2 here in front of this. Now we'll learn how to factor trinomials when we have a coefficient here other than 1 in the next lesson. But in this one, that little technique of factoring just this number is not going to work. So, do you see something I can do first? Sort of our number one rule of factoring I always look for. That hadn't come up in the last 4 examples. Right, I pull out a common factor. So our common factor here is 2. So I pull out the 2, you're left with x squared plus 6x plus 5. Now I look at this, x squared plus 6x plus 5. And can I factor 5 in such a way that I get sum of 6? Sure, 5 and 1. 5 times 1 is 5, 5 plus 1 is 6. So it's going to be, don't forget your 2, and then x plus 5, x plus 1. X squared minus 15x minus 2x. Sorry, x squared minus 15 minus 2x. So what, this one's also a little bit odd. We can factor it this way, but it's certainly a little bit easier on the eyes if you will rewrite this in descending order. So to do this, we do the same way, right? That's sort of our first step. Now we look at factors of negative 15 that sum to a negative 2. Let's see, 5 and 3. And so if the 5 is negative and 3 is positive. So I'll get x minus 5, x plus 3. And again, we should be able to, I'll let you do these, but you should be able to FOIL this back out, multiply it back out, and get the original expression here. Or that one if you rearranged it. Okay, try this one out. 4x to the 5th minus 28x to the 4th plus 40x cubed. Pause for a second. Think, what does your first step need to be on this one? Good. I've got to pull out a common factor. So, our common factor, let's pull out the number part first. Looks like 4 goes into everything. So let's pull out a 4. Okay. And we actually pull out a 4x cubed, right? Because we have an x cubed that's certainly common in all 3 terms. And we're left with x squared minus 7x plus 10. Make sure you see that before you move on. Pause the video and redo this one, rethink about it, or email me if you have questions on that. Okay, now I can factor x squared minus 7x plus 10. So let's pull the 10 out. Factors of 10, let's see, 2 and 5. Can I add these in such a way that I get a negative 7? Sure, if these are both negative. Because what's negative 2 times negative 5 is a positive 10. Negative 2 plus negative 5 is negative 7. So you still make sure you bring down your 4x cubed, and then x minus 5, x minus 2. Or x minus 2, x minus 5. It doesn't matter what order we multiply these in. We usually put the monomial term in the beginning. You don't have to. I think it looks best there. Okay, example 8. X squared plus 4x plus 5. Pause the video here, see if you can get this one. Alright, did you find anything? So again, we have factors of 5 that sum to 4. So let's see, 5 and 1. If this 1 were negative, that would sum to 4, but what's 5 times negative 1? Not positive 5, that's a negative 5. Are there any other factors of 5 we can use? Nope, 5 is a prime number, so if only 5 and 1. So if we can't factor this, we say it's prime over the real numbers. So again, if a polynomial cannot be factored any further, it is said to be prime. Now let's add one little piece to this we've done in an earlier lesson where we're actually solving these. So we have x squared minus 2x equals 15. The difference here is that we're going to have an equals sign on these. So my first step is similar to what I've done in an earlier lesson. I have to set these equal to 0. So I do that by subtracting 15 to both sides. You get x squared minus 2x minus 15 equals 0. And then you factor this as we've done before. I think we may have actually done this one. We have a negative 15. Factors of negative 15 that sum to negative 2. Let's see, 5 and 3 if that 5 is negative. And so we just go, well, I've already done this right here. And so we'll have x plus 3, x minus 5. And don't forget your equal 0. This needs to be written every time. Don't get lazy and leave it off. So that's step 1. Step 2, we set each factor equal to 0. And we go x plus 3 is 0, and x minus 5 is 0. And then solve each equation. X equals negative 3, x equals positive 5. That's your answer. Okay, see if you can do this one. X squared plus 7x plus 10 equals 0. Pause the video here, see if you can do it. Welcome back. I know you're pausing it. Go ahead and factor this 10 into 5 and 2. That's right, because 5 plus 2 is 7. We've actually already factored this one in an earlier problem, but we can do that. Set each factor equal to 0. We have x plus 5 equals 0, x plus 2 equals 0, and then solve for x. X equals negative 5, x equals negative 2. I want you to have some nice steps there. And again, we should be able to plug these values back in, right? If you plug these values back in for x, we should get a true statement. Negative 5 squared plus 7 times negative 5 plus 10 needs to be 0. Same thing with negative 2. Okay, I believe this is the last one. X squared minus x equals 6. Step 1, set this to 0. So subtract 6 from both sides, you get x squared minus x minus 6 equals 0. Step 2, factor. So we're going to do negative 6. And so negative 6, we have what? 3 and 2. If the 3 is negative, it's going to work out, right? So x minus 3, x plus 2 equals 0. Make sure you have the equal 0 there. Now set each factor equal to 0. So x minus 3 is 0, x plus 2 is 0, and solve for x. Get positive 3 and negative 2. And again, you can plug these back in and determine the solution.